What's up you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jenny and I am that props girl, and welcome to part 2 of my interview with Megan Connelly, the props designer. If you didn't catch my last video, which was part 1, I highly recommend that you stop this video and go and check that one out. But if you are keen to see part 2, then stick around. Be sure to smash the like button because it lets me know you want to see more content like this, as well as consider hitting that subscribe button and bell so that you don't miss a single one of my uploads. And with all that said and done, let's jump back into the interview. Okay, so do you have any funny or scary stories about props breaking in a show?
I do. So there was one incident in Spamalot where we had the coconuts.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the cast members was just so vigorously clapping his hands together, like with these, they were just plastic cups that I painted brown.
Oh, okay.
And he shattered them.
Oh, no.
He just clumped them together and like bits went flying and he needed them for the rest of the scene. And it was like, oh, I was up the back going, well, what's he going to do now? And, but, you know, he's a true professional. He kept going and it was all fine. But that was definitely one moment where I was watching going, oh my gosh, my props, like, and also I only had 12 of those, so I need to go find more. And having to have extras in case it happened again. Me personally, as an actor, because I mean, as much as I love props, I'm definitely an actor first.
Yeah.
I was in a show where I was playing a character who liked to smash plates to relieve stress.
Oh, okay.
So I had this little purse that had a saucer in it and a hammer. So every show I'd bring out the plate, I'd place it in a napkin, fold it over, I'd get the hammer and bash, bash, bash. And everything was fine. And part of the character was, she was meant to be really nervous and everything. So I was like, saying my lines. What I hadn't realized is I'd actually sliced my hand open. And so all the while it was wiping blood all over my neck and like all the scene, and I'm just sitting there not realizing what had happened. And then when the scene was over, I went to get up and I went, why is my lap wet?
Oh my gosh.
And because I had that much blood all on my dress and everything. So definitely that was like oh my gosh. Scary for the audience probably, because I'm like, they're probably like, is this part of the show? Is it not part of the show with this blood all on the neck? Or, you know, and then run straight off to get like tissues and try and clean myself up. And yeah, so that's probably like the most extreme I've had with props. But yeah.
Did you get a scar?
No, thankfully. It was on like the center of my hand, so like, you know, durable.
Yeah. that area just bleeds so much.
Well, and it wasn't even a huge cut either. Like, and it was just like the tiniest nick from this porcelain that, it went everywhere.
Wow. Well, that is dramatic. I've never had anything like that happen.
Thankfully, none of my props have done that to anybody else, as far as I'm aware. So yeah.
I don't know. Like, it got to a point. Because I think I used to be so like attached when things went wrong in a show. I'd be like, oh my gosh. And now I just have to laugh. Yeah. Because you can't go on stage and change it. Like.
No, and I think because like having experienced both sides.
Yes.
Like you can realize it's not such a big deal. Like actors should be able to just go on with the show. Like it's fine if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and vice versa. So yeah.
I watched a video last week, of which I was doing reactions to, but Idina Menzel in If Then, she was meant to have like a mobile phone and she just didn't have it on her. Yeah. And so she's like, where is this phone during the scene? And some other actor, the phone's ringing. Yeah. And so she's like, I don't have the phone. And then some other actor comes on and is like, do you want my phone? And then they just lost it. And so she's like trying to wave to the props person in the wing, and then she ended up like miming, and then the actor was like, gosh, these phones are so small these days. In the end she gave up. She's like, just give me the prop. But it was very, very funny. But it's just nice to know that those things occasionally do happen in professional.
Yeah, in professional, exactly. Yeah, so I think we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. What's one of the biggest things that you've learned from doing props?
This one's hard.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously, like you learn in each show you do, like your skill level for props. But on a personal note, like I think I've learnt how to love myself more.
Okay.
Because I mean, you're probably very much the same. I can't say no. And so people will go, oh, can you do this for me? Can you do this for me? And usually I'm like, yep, yep, yep. And like, you know, they'll say, oh, I know you're doing this show, but I just need X, Y, Z. I'm like, yep, 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 yep. And definitely the last couple of years where us as theatre creators have actually had to slow down, it's allowed me to reassess and go, no, you actually need to take time to, you know, see your family and go out with friends and not have so much pressure put on, because like definitely I take on way too much, and then there's those deadlines of like, you know, because they need the props by certain times, so yeah, and that's what I've done. I turned down a show with someone that I'd worked with a couple of times, and I was like, oh, this is weird and a new experience, but it was fine. Like I didn't like, because I think you have that fear of, oh, they won't ask me again. Yeah. If I say no, they won't ask me again. They'll go to someone else and then that'll be it. Yeah. Whereas it wasn't the case. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's all right. And, you know, and they've also in the past said to me, you need to stop, like have a break, you know, and it's nice that they recognize it as well. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned. And I probably wouldn't have, if I hadn't taken on props, because it's a big responsibility, and it does put that extra stress on you, I would never have learnt that. And so that's what I'm doing this year. I'm actually taking a step back from props to focus on being on stage again, because I kind of forgot about that as well. Like I was so busy going, yes, I'll do that. So I couldn't actually be in shows. Yeah. And that was like my number one reason for being there in the first place. So so saying no and doing things that I want to do, that I love, that's what I've learned.
Yeah, definitely. And I do understand completely. And as I've said, I'm doing the same thing this year and taking a step back. Not on stage, but just taking a step back personally. But yeah, no, it is very difficult to say no.
Props is one of those things that, I mean, definitely there's some skills that you just have to be able to do. Yes. But I think it's a great starting point for people. Like I think anybody can pick up that prop and go with it and start on that journey. So like that's one thing I would love to see more people do. I'm a strong believer that if you want to be an actor on stage, you should do something backstage. Yeah. I think it keeps you balanced, grounded, and it gives you that appreciation for the people that work so hard in the background. Yeah. So if anybody wants to start, props.
No, seriously, it's very true, and I think that you still get to work with the actors and that sort of thing. Yeah. But I think particularly in our department we learn, a bit like costumes, like you learn the value of that item. And how like even it might break in the scene, but like the value that's placed on that item, go, okay, now I've got to really act differently or this not or whatever because I don't have that prop or whatnot. And I always say that like, yes, our job, it's very important, and sometimes it goes unnoticed because if we've done our job right, it shouldn't look like we've done our job at all, because it should look like believable. Yeah. But if you took all of the things out of the scene or the show that we've done, it would look so out of place, and so it's a catch-22, just going, oh, how did, like, the value of that prop is only really recognised if it's not there. Yeah. It's just such a strange department to work in that way, but it brings so much joy. We were talking before about the awards ceremony, and I first of all wanted to congratulate for even getting nominated for an award. That's a win for props department in general, for the fact that we never get recognised. So, like, amazing. I was so happy when I saw your name. I'm like, yes, our department is recognised.
Yeah, no, and honestly, being nominated is so much more important than actually winning. Yeah. Because it is that recognition. It brings attention to everybody else in the room that maybe didn't realise, the work that was put in. And I'm just stoked for the show that it was, because Puffs, as I said, it was the hardest show I've worked on. Yeah. And so to be recognised for that. Yes. Because that was the show I definitely had a few crying moments and a few breakdowns. So it was really nice.
Yeah. And I think, I know as an audience member, if you work backstage, like you obviously recognize things on stage a bit more. Like I love going to see shows that you've done because it is exactly true. Like your work is exceptional, and I love just going. Oh, you can just tell. Like you always do such a great job, and yeah. And you also bring this beautiful vibrance. Like Spamalot was one of those shows that I just go, oh, the props were so vibrant and everything like that. And same with Puffs. But I remember sitting in Puffs going, I am glad I did not have to do this show. It's way too hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I almost roped you in a couple of times because I remember I was like, I might need your help doing this. Oh, I might need your help doing this. Because it was that, I don't know, one of the props was the golden egg that had to open for the mermaids to sing or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how am I to make this golden egg? And that was one that I was going to be like, Jen, help me. Because I tried everything, and now you can't buy plastic spoons.
Yes, it's so true.
So I was trying like with wooden spoons, and it wouldn't quite get the shape, and like because I couldn't melt them, and it just it got so hard. So yeah, I was like, I need help.
I had that happen when I did Physical Kids, because we had the egg as well for like the baby Horton, and I have one that does this, but it was the most difficult thing and it never properly worked. And but I went shopping at Easter time and got like those big kids eggs that are full of craft supplies and used one of them, but yeah, it was very difficult.
No, I ended up passing it on to someone else in the production team. I was like, you can do this because I just can't. And she came up with, it was a good idea, maybe not the best well executed, because it was styrofoam that she'd stuck thumbtacks into. Oh. And so eventually the thumbtacks started falling out, and I was like, but it looked great.
Great. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
My final question, I talk a lot about, a lot of the things that we do, I know personally I've learnt a lot through trial and error. Have you experienced some actual huge fails in creating things, but also from that, have you found that you've become a better designer and learned things along the way?
Well, the egg is a prime example because my mum's house was just like littered with all these half attempted eggs. But I can't say I really overcame that one because I did pass the buck.
But I think that there's merit in that as well.
Yeah.
And like learning the extent of your abilities and actually going, you know what? I'm actually going to outsource this.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, because like, as I said, I have my mum that I lean on heavily to do things that I can't, because like she's a wonderful sewer. She doesn't believe it, but she is. So like, I know that I'm not a sewer, so hand that over. I guess a good example was when I was first starting out in Mary Poppins. They had that breakable vase.
Oh, yes.
And I wasn't really sure what kind of medium to use, because obviously it needed to shatter and then fix magically every single time. And so I did try like what I knew, and then I, asked around, and people were like, why don't you try plastics and things? And I found like this, what is it called? Plastamake.
Okay.
So it's like these tiny little beads of plastic that you just melt down, and you can model and everything. So I think that's probably something that I learnt was, don't be afraid to try new things, because I found that stuff and I love it because you can also remelt it.
Oh, and that's so good.
So it's again that repurposing. So usually that's the stuff that when I do props, because I don't always get reimbursed for everything, so I do tend to keep a lot of things. Yeah. So that's the stuff that I do keep, because I know I can remelt it and make it into something else. So but that phase, that took a lot of trial and error. Eventually we got something that worked. So
yeah, and I've seen it. It's very good, because when we did Mary Poppins, we like half of our stuff was hired and half of it wasn't, which is the hardest place to be in. Like I like it to either all be hired or not. Yeah. Because it's hard when the director will sometimes go, okay, no. So I do have to go and source these things. But usually you don't get the hired stuff till, later in the game.
Yeah, it's very stressful.
Yeah, but like our vase was wooden, and it was a thing. But the director wasn't happy with how it was falling, and so they made the actor like throw it into the stage, and well, it shattered and went back in 1,000 pieces. But it was the last show, so it was like,
that's
but
yeah.
yes, I think we had to definitely pay for the replacement on that one, but
Yeah.
so maybe not wood as a smashable medium.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, that's good. I'll take that note. Because, yeah, like I'll always say, like I worked on Addams Family twice. And so that was great because there was a few things that I was like, oh, I wasn't quite happy like the first time that I did it. So I got to fix it up and then pass it on to them and get, see new life breathed into it. And the same thing like with Puffs. My workplace is doing it later in the year, and I've said, I've got got a few things. I haven't got everything, but I've got a few things, and there's a few things that I was again not quite happy with, and being that perfectionist, and so I'm like, if you need somebody, I'll jump in and do it. So just like that room for improvement, I guess.
And that's a fun thing, like, about redoing shows, because I was the same with Little Mermaid. And it was nice because I didn't have the best experience on the first show. Not, like, the props and the show itself was fine. Like, when there's, like, political backstage stuff happening. And it really just ruined my experience of the show. So much that I actually, like, blocked so much of the show out. And so when I was trying to remember things that I did, I was like, why can't I remember this? And, but the jellyfish were an example of that. Like, I had to end up taking over a bit of the costumes department on that show at the last minute, so my timeline was really like cut in half, and so I just didn't get to properly finish them. So it was nice to be able to go back in and go, this is what I originally wanted.
Yes.
It's so satisfying as well, and it's also interesting because when you work with, this wasn't a different theatre company, but for you, like working with different theatre companies, that they want different things, and different directors put different spins on things. So
yeah, and I mean, I think as well, like you don't want it to be an exact copy from the first one anyway. Like you do want to see fresh things and so I think it's great when you get to do shows again, but there's a different director who has like slightly different ideas, because again it makes it more challenging for you too, and but I don't know, there's a few things that I've made in the past that I've looked back now and you go, I could tell that was at the beginning.
Yes.
And I've like progressed, drinks, for an example, like, you start off with the empty cups and then you progress to, paint the inside and, maybe I'll try resin, or like, you have that progression.
Oh, yes. And time is such an important thing. Like, I mean, you were there on Brazil when I was like painting the cups going, ran out of time. Yeah. It is what it is. But like we had lockdown and it was a whole thing, and that show got postponed 3 times.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's the thing as well, like, because a few shows have been postponed and it's like, I could have used my time more wisely. I know, and I just didn't. Yeah. No.
I mean, resin is expensive, so
it is. But I look at it as an investment.
Yeah.
Because those cups, I know, champagne flutes are a little bit harder because sometimes the stems break. Yeah. But the cups usually, they're always in good condition. They come back. You can reuse them for show after show after show. Like, it is a good investment.
Yeah, definitely.
In the long run. But yeah, actually, for wine, I did watch your no, it was your pizza. I watched your tutorial for your pizza because I needed the pizza for Jersey Boys, and I'm like, how am I gonna make pizza? So I watched that, and it gave me ideas for my own way to do it. So
that was such a like fluke thing as well, because I had not done anything that was like that. I think I was just bored. I'm like, oh well, we'll give it a try. And I think that's the video that actually taught me about using watercolors on air drying clay, because I didn't know that you could do that. I thought, it probably won't work, and it did. I went, nice to know, I'll do that again. So it's fun, but no, thank you. I always find it so hilarious that anybody watches them in the first place.
No, you're the first. Like, if I've got an idea and I'm not quite sure, I'll like go into your YouTube channel and then like, Jen already done it, and watch. And if it's not quite what I'm after, it usually still gives me a few like tips that I go, I have an idea now that might work. Yeah. So it's great. As I said, it's my first point of contact.
Oh, thank you. No, and I mean, like, but I did the same thing. It's like, it's a form of research, and I think when I was making maybe the orb for Frozen, I did the same thing, and I had found someone who did one that was a mimic of the cartoon, and I was like, it's not quite what I'm looking for, but I now have an idea. Yeah. And through making the orb, I learnt that spray paint and styrofoam don't mix.
No, I learnt the same thing.
And I was...
And not on pool noodles either.
Okay, I didn't know that one. Thank you.
Yeah, I tried to make gigantic candy canes for Willy Wonka, and it just erodes.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was actually filming the orb, and I had to start the video again. I went, never mind, let's do take 2, which is the flip side of what I do. But anyways, it's been lovely chatting. You have so many pearls of wisdom, and it's nice to know that I feel like validated because I feel like, oh, someone else faces these troubles. Yeah, perhaps people are few and far between in some circles. So it's been lovely chatting with you, and I wish you all the best for your performing endeavors this year. All right, you guys, that was amazing. I absolutely loved interviewing Meg. She is such good value, and she has so many pearls of wisdom. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you did. Leave me some comments down below with any of your thoughts or questions, and myself or Meg will get back to you. Consider hitting that subscribe button and bell, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.